Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how I set up my Windows machine for data science and deep learning development. So first of all, I need to install Python, and to do that, let's open our web browser and go to www.anaconda.com. And here, click on Get Started, then click on Download Anaconda Installers. This will take us to the Anaconda installer download links. So mine is a 64-bit machine, so I'm going to click here and save the file, but I have already downloaded the file, so I'm going to click cancel here and close the browser. And this is the file that will be downloaded. Now your version number might be different based on when you download the file, so don't worry if the number is different. Double click on the installer, click next, accept the license agreement. I'm going to select just me. You can select all users if you want. Click next. I'm going to select the default location. Click next, and I'm going to check this option because this is going to save some extra work for me later. If you don't have any other Python installation on your system, then don't worry about this warning message. This is not going to cause any problem. Click install and then wait for the installation to complete. The installation is complete. Click next, and you can uncheck them because we don't need them. Click finish, and now you have Python installed on your system. So how can you check? In the search bar, type for command prompt, and if you type Python, it's going to open the Python interpreter, so our Python is working fine. But if you didn't check the add anaconda to my system path, then you might not be able to do this. In that case, open anaconda prompt and do everything there instead of doing it on command prompt. So now you can type any Python code you want. Let's type something. Print hello world. As you can see, our Python is working fine. So let's exit. Next, we are going to install Pytorch and Tensorflow. Now, before installing any packages, it's a good idea to create a separate virtual environment. In that way, if something goes wrong, our main Python installation will remain unaffected, and we can just delete our virtual environment and create a new one and pretend like nothing went wrong. So you can create virtual environment using Anaconda. If you type Conda env list, it will show you all the currently available environment on your system. So currently we have only base, which is the default one, and I would recommend to keep it untouched. So to create a new environment, type Conda create -- name and give your environment a name. I'm going to name it Pytorch 1.7 because this is the version I'm going to install on this environment. And then I'm going to use clone base, and this will clone my base environment. In that way I will have an identical environment. So press enter. Let's wait for the process to complete. Our environment is created. Let's type Conda activate our environment name, which is Pytorch 1.7 here. Press enter to activate the environment, and as you can see, our environment is now activated. So whatever we do now will be done inside this environment, and our base environment will remain untouched. So to install Pytorch, let's go to Pytorch website, which is pytorch.org, and click on the install button here. I'm going to select stable, Windows, Conda. You can also select pip, it doesn't matter. and Python, and I have a CUDA enabled graphics card, so I'm going to select one of the CUDA version, prefer the 11 one. And but if you don't have a CUDA enabled GPU, click none, and after you select all the options, copy this line of code by pressing Ctrl C, or you can right click and select copy and then open the command prompt. If you right click on it, it will paste the code and then press enter. And this is asking for approval. Type Y, press enter, and this is going to download the required files. I will continue the video after all the packages are downloaded and installed. Our Pytorch is now installed and it will take some time based on your net speed. As you can see, it downloaded almost 1.6 GB in total, so be patient. And let's check if our Pytorch is working properly. Type Python and press enter to bring the Python interpreter, and let's import torch. And torch is imported without any error, so yeah, our torch is working fine. Let's check if it finds our GPU. Torch dot CUDA dot is available. True, so yes, it's also able to get our GPU. And we are done with our Pytorch installation. Next we are going to install TensorFlow. I'm going to create another virtual environment where I will install TensorFlow. So let's deactivate our current environment, Pytorch 1.7, and to deactivate the environment, just simply type Conda deactivate, and this will deactivate our environment. So now you are again on the base environment, so be careful, don't install anything on your base environment. If you type Conda env list, you will see all the available environment. So let's create another environment for TensorFlow, and the process is same. Conda create hyphen name, and I'm going to name this one TensorFlow 2.4 because this is the current version that I'm going to install, and I'm going to clone the base environment. Now TensorFlow environment is created. Let's activate the environment by typing Conda activate TensorFlow 2.4. Okay, now we are in the TensorFlow 2.4 environment. Let's clear this screen. So now we need to go to TensorFlow website to check the instructions. Open your browser and go to tensorflow.org and click on the install tab. And if you want to install TensorFlow only with CPU support, then just run this two line of code, it will be sufficient for you. But as I have a CUDA enabled graphics card, so I want my TensorFlow to properly work with my GPU. And if you also have a CUDA enabled GPU, then click on the GPU guide, because we are going to follow the GPU guide. So first of all, we need to run this code anyway, either only for CPU or GPU. Copy this and paste it on, and this is going to first download necessary files for TensorFlow and install the package. Meanwhile, we can continue to the guide. So make sure you fulfill the hardware requirement. And next, in the software requirement, first you need to have GPU driver which is higher than 450 version at least. So if you don't have your NVIDIA driver installed, go to NVIDIA website and download the latest driver. Or if you already installed, you will have GeForce Experience. If you have GeForce Experience, double click on it and go to driver tab, and here you can check your driver version number. If yours doesn't meet the minimum requirement, click on the check for updates. This will download and install the latest GPU driver. Next, you need to download CUDA toolkit from NVIDIA website. Right click on it and open a new tab. As you can see, there are several versions available for download. Our TensorFlow supports CUDA 11, and so I'm going to come back here in a bit. Let's continue to the next requirement. This is going to be installed with our CUDA toolkit, so we don't need to do anything here. The fourth one, cuDNN SDK 8.0.4. So if we go to cuDNN website and download cuDNN, you need to have NVIDIA account. If you don't have one, sign up, it's free. And if you have NVIDIA account, just log into your account. After you log into your NVIDIA account, you can come to the download page, but if you see the latest version of cuDNN is 8.0.5, don't download the latest version if it doesn't match the version number on the TensorFlow documentation. If you mismatch the version number, this is going to cause error. So TensorFlow requires 8.0.4, so you need to download an older version. Right click on this link. This will have the previous versions. Now you have several choice here. Also, you can download 8.0.4 for CUDA 11.0. You can also download it for CUDA 11.1. Now 11.1 doesn't work with TensorFlow. You have to download 11.0. And as we are downloading cuDNN for 11.0, we also need to download CUDA toolkit 11.0. Don't download 11.2 or 11.1. Exactly download 11.0. Otherwise, your TensorFlow will throw some errors. So now I'm going to download these two files, the CUDA toolkit 11.0 and cuDNN version 8.0.4 for CUDA 11.0. I'm going to pause it now. After I complete my download, I will continue the video again. So these are the downloaded files. This is the CUDA toolkit and this is cuDNN. And on the background we were running pip install TensorFlow, which completed successfully, and then I closed the window when I wasn't recording the video. So sorry for that, but let me show you what a successful installation should look like. As you can see, your output should be something like this: successfully installed several packages, where you will see it has installed TensorFlow, TensorFlow Estimator, and some other necessary packages. So if you saw this output, then your installation was successful, and now you can import TensorFlow on your Python code. Let me show you. First, let me activate the environment where I installed TensorFlow by typing Conda activate TensorFlow 2.4, my environment name, and then let me bring in the Python interpreter. And if we type import TensorFlow as tf, we can import TensorFlow on our code. Now this is not an error message, this is just a warning to remind you that TensorFlow cannot load CUDA. So if you are installing TensorFlow for only with the CPU support, for example you don't have a CUDA enabled GPU, then this is completely fine. You can continue working with TensorFlow. this is not going to cause any error for you. But if you have a CUDA enabled GPU and you want TensorFlow to use it, then you need to continue to the next steps. But if you only want the CPU version, then you are good to go. So let me exit from here. And to install CUDA toolkit, you first have to install Visual Studio. So to do that, go to visualstudio.microsoft.com and from here download the community edition. Now I have downloaded the file. Double click on it, click yes, then click continue. Let's wait for the download to complete. Now on the next page, you don't need to select any workload, just click install and continue. We don't need to run Visual Studio now. I'm going to close it. And at this point, I want to restart my computer and I will continue after my computer is restarted. Okay, now I have restarted my PC. Now I'm going to install CUDA toolkit. Double click on the installer. Click yes and extract the file in whatever location you want. Click agree and continue. I'm going to select Express. You can select custom if you want. Click next, and then this is going to install CUDA. Now if you didn't install Visual Studio, this will prompt you to install Visual Studio first. In that case, cancel the installation and go to the Visual Studio website and download and install Visual Studio. And for us, all we have to do is now wait. The installation is complete. Click next, and we don't need to check anything here. Click close. Next we are going to install cuDNN. To do that, let's extract the files. I have WinRAR, so the icon look like this, and double click on the extracted folder. Inside there you will find CUDA, and inside there you have 3 folders. You need to copy the files inside these folders to some specific location, which is C drive, program files, NVIDIA GPU computing toolkit, CUDA folder, the version number that you installed, and then bin folder. So copy all the files inside the bin folder from here and paste it here. You might be asked for permission. Click continue. Do this for all current files. Next, go one folder up, go to include folder, select all the files, copy them, and here go one folder up, go to include folder and paste everything here. If you asked for permission, click continue. And lastly, go one folder up here, go to the lib folder, go to x64 folder, select all the files, copy, and here go one folder up, find the lib folder, go to x64 and paste everything. So we are almost done. Let's go to TensorFlow instruction page. If you scroll down to Windows section, the last thing you need to do is set the environment path, and as you can see, cuDNN is expected to be on the tools folder on C drive, and that's why I am going to cut this extracted file of cuDNN to C drive and create a new folder, tools, and inside the tools folder I'm going to paste the CUDA folder. Now this is optional, you can just keep where your extracted file was and just change this code, but I'm just going to copy it and paste it in command line, so this is going to make things easy for me. If you right click on it, everything will be pasted and you are good to go. Close the command prompt, and finally I think our installation is complete now. Let me activate our TensorFlow environment. Let me bring in the Python interpreter. If we now type import TensorFlow as TF, as you can see, our TensorFlow now can successfully open our CUDA library. But this is not all. Even if you see this message, there might be some error when you try to use GPU. So to be completely sure, you need to run two other functions. The first of all, we need to type tf.test.is built with CUDA. This will return true if we installed TensorFlow for GPU, and then we need to run tf.config.list physical devices, and inside the bracket type GPU and press enter. As you can see, the TensorFlow has listed your GPU and all the libraries are successfully opened. So yes, now our installation is successful and complete. So we can exit, clear the screen, and we are done. Now, you probably won't be using command prompt to write most of your Python codes. You will want to use some kind of IDE software to write your codes. Now, the question is, how can you use your custom created environments on your IDE? So let me show you. We installed Python using Anaconda, and it also installs Spyder. So we have Spyder already installed on our system. So if you run Spyder, the default environment that it will use is the base environment. So if you try to import any libraries that are installed on your base environment, it can import them without any problem. But if you try to import the libraries that are on your custom created environment, for example, if we try to import TensorFlow, you will see it's giving you module not found error. So how can we tell Spyder to use our environment? So if you are on the command prompt and your environment is activated, you can simply type your IDE name, Spyder, and press enter, and that way Spyder will open on this environment and use everything that is on this environment. So if you type import TensorFlow as tf, it can successfully import TensorFlow. But if you try to import Torch, as expected, it will not be able to import Torch because Torch is not present in this environment. To do that, you need to switch your environment, deactivate this environment, and go and activate the Pytorch environment. Then I can type Spyder, presenter, and that way your Spyder will be launched on that virtual environment. So very easy. And next, I'm going to show you how you can use your virtual environments on Jupyter Notebook. So if you open Jupyter Notebook, and this is the location that Jupyter Notebook uses, which is the default user home directory, which is in the C drive. Let me show you. This is the location that Jupyter is currently using. If you match the folders, you will see that they are the same folders. But the problem is, if you use this location for your projects, this is on the C drive, and if you need to install Windows again, you might want to format C drive, but if you forgot to back up your projects, then they will be gone. And I have actually done that several times, so I know this is not a good idea. What I want Jupyter to do is use a custom location, which is this one. I'm going to organize all my projects in this location, so I want to tell Jupyter to open on this directory by default. So how can we do that? Let's close Jupyter first and search for Jupyter again and click on the open file location, or if you right click on Jupyter's icon, you will find the open file location. This is the shortcuts that are present on your start menu. Click on the Anaconda one, not the one created for your virtual environments. Right click on it, click properties, and find this thing, user profile. We are going to replace this user profile with our desired directory. Let's select this and Ctrl C to copy the location and Ctrl V to paste the location inside the quotation marks. And remove this bracket. Okay. And also replace this home path with our custom location. Click apply. Okay. And now if you open Jupyter, you will see this is using your custom defined directory. So if you create a new notebook here and save it, let's name it test, rename, save it, and now if we go to this directory, we will see our notebook is now saved on our custom directory. So this is how you can change the custom default directory of Jupyter Notebook. I find this very handy. Now we were actually asking how we can use our virtual environments on Jupyter Notebook. So this is very easy. Let me close the Jupyter Notebook server again. We don't need this folders anymore. So let me deactivate this. And list all the environments. So currently we have 3 environments, and when you open Jupyter Notebook, it was using the base environment. Now we want to add these 2 environments to our Jupyter Notebook so that we can switch between environments within the Jupyter. So let's first activate the Pytorch environment. Conda activate, and our environment name Pytorch 1.7. Now when you are inside your virtual environment, simply type Python m kernel install --user --name, the name of our environment, which is Pytorch 1.7, and then display name. Now display name is a more human readable name for Jupyter to use as a display name. Here give your environment a clean name, Pytorch. I'm going to name it Pytorch 1.7 without the underscore, and also mention the Python version number, which is 3.8. Now if you don't have Kernel installed, then before running this line, run pip install kernel. But I cloned the base environment, that's why I know kernel is already installed. Press enter. Now deactivate. Our current environment, and I'm going to switch to TensorFlow environment. Conda, activate TensorFlow 2.4. I'm going to run the same code, only change the environment name, because now I'm running this code for TensorFlow environment. Now I bring up the previous commands by pressing the up arrow. So if you press the up arrow, your previous commands will come again. And in the display name, I'm going to change the name to TensorFlow 2.4, and this is for Python 3.8. So everything is okay. Press enter. Now if you open Jupyter Notebook, and open any notebook, import torch, press shift enter. This is going to say model not found. Type import TensorFlow, model not found, because we are running on the base environment. But here click on the kernel, change kernel. You can now switch your kernel from Python 3, which is the base environment, to Pytorch 1.7. Now if you press enter, Pytorch can be imported, not TensorFlow, but you can also switch your environment to TensorFlow now, and that way Torch won't be imported, but TensorFlow can be successfully imported. So this is very handy. You can easily switch between your environments from Jupyter Notebook. You don't need to close and reopen Jupyter Notebook every time you want to use separate environments. So this is the end of the video. I hope you liked it and it was helpful. If you face any problem or error, let me know in the comment, and I will try to help you as much as I can. So till then, take care.